And welcome back on to the next phase of Good Morning Kenya. That is in the headlines, just to give you on what's happening and what's on the front pages of our local dailies here. And with me, I have the Star newspaper. On the front page, Uhuru backyard to name 2022 peak in Limuru 3. Uhuru backyard to name 2022 peak in Limuru 3. It is widely expected foundation would settle on Raila Odinga, and Mount Kenya Foundation plans summit come next month. That is Uhuru backyard to name 2022 peak in Limuru 3. I will give you more details briefly. And the widow of Miraa trader wants payout for his killing by ex-cop. The widow of Martin Koome, who was murdered by former Roraka OCS Nahashon Mutua, wants compensation from the state for the death of her husband. In a petition filed at the High Court, Penina Kaumuthu wants the court to declare that her husband's right to life was violated. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper, as well as Joey was shot by thugs, says witness in court. It has now emerged that murder suspect Joey Irungu sustained a gunshot wound to his left shoulder after being assaulted by thugs. Earlier accounts indicated that he shot himself on September 21st, 2018 in protest at being evicted from co-accused Jackie Maribe's house. That is a story making headlines on the front page as well. And still there, multi-agency team starts to craft 2022 poll roadmap, giving you details briefly on that. And on that story where Mount Kenya tycoons to declare preferred candidate at Limuru 3, tycoons from President Uhuru Kenyatta's Mount Kenya backyard are planning a jamboree to announce their preferred 2022 presidential candidate from mid next month. The group of powerful businessmen known as the Mount Kenya Foundation is revered within political circles for its bottomless war chest to finance presidential candidates and campaigns. Now, their declaration is likely to shape the 2022 succession battle. The MKF abbreviation convention will include MPs, governors, senators, MCAs, aspirants, religious leaders, businessmen, and professionals from the Gikuyu
story here concerning Wanjiru, and this is in regards to the murder of Wanjiru that happened back in 2012. And now new evidence shows that the British Army may have covered up the matter until the suspect was able to leave the country, while Kenyan authorities delayed and blocked investigation into the foreign soldiers until they had exited the country. That is the latest development as has been captured on this daily in regards to that particular story. Looking at the long arm of the law, Lamu senator charged with shooting woman. The Nanyuki resident magistrate Vincent Masivo quashed the application for the prosecution to have the lawmaker detained for 5 days to be able to conclude investigations. They said the petitioners argued that he is a potential threat to the witnesses given his status as a senator, but this particular petition was quashed and he was released on a 500,000 cash bail and 1 million bond. Still here on the front page, beauty is now a multi-billion shilling industry in Kenya, and this is something that has slowly but surely grown over the past few years, and more so during this particular pandemic, with the number of professional makeup artists coming up, a steady trajectory in this particular field. So many men and women have ventured into the beauty industry, and it is has been acknowledged as a multi-billion shilling industry here in Kenya. And finally, coming to the main read, Ruto pulls a first one on parties. If you can remember, the deputy president had said that he, whoever wants to join his party has to dissolve a party if they have and now join UDA. But now the deputy president has yielded to demands for autonomy by smaller outfits that won't disband to join UDA. This is a story that is here on page 7. Let me just quickly run you through this particular story. Page 7, Nukowapi. Yeah, here we go. So is this a coalition deal? And Deputy President Camps now says that they will only sign deals after the elections. Okay, so if you are part of a smaller party and you want to associate yourself with UDA, you're free to do so, but they will only sign on to the be part of UDA and have an agreement of sorts after the 2022 general elections, should the his outfit win the elections. So this is one of the conditions that he has set out for anyone who wants to associate himself with UDA. They are free to use the Hustler Nation narrative under that umbrella, but no pacts and promises are going to be made before the election, because as per the Secretary General, that is Veronica Maina, she said that pacts and promises made before elections become difficult to break when the affiliated outfits do not perform as expected. So after the elections, depending on how your party performed, that is when they will decide whether or not they will take them on board or leave them to the cold. That is the front page for you, Doreen.
Okay, let me just pick it up from that international news story which you highlighted before, and this is what has been happening in Sudan. As of yesterday, there was that coup that took place, which was there was actually another attempted one in September that failed. And obviously we know that since the ouster of the then President Omar al-Bashir, Sudan has not been in a good state, and since then the military and the civilians have been ruling that country together. And now ahead of next year's general elections, what the military wanted is that for proper democracy to take place in Sudan, and that is for the proper election of who is to be the president. So that is what also has been putting them at loggerheads, and that is also what saw the house arrest of the Prime Minister, that is Abdallah Hamdok, together with some of his other cabinet secretary and civilian members. And obviously, again, we know since time immemorial, since independence of Sudan, that is in 1956, the country has seen numerous coups and attempted coups to some point where world leaders and human rights groups have condemned the detention of those several high-ranking Sudanese officials in what appears to be another coup attempt as a senior military official dissolved that particular government. So obviously that was marred with chaos yesterday in Sudan, with gunfires, residents of Sudan storming the city of Sudan, that is Khartoum. We see what the UN has also said in regards to that, and that is perhaps what is just currently developing when it comes to that particular country and what is happening with the various coups that have been taking place, the attempted one together with what happened yesterday. Still keeping up with what is happening on the international matters. I mean, when you look at how most of us would be afraid to go to jail for some reason or the other, there's a man in Italy who now wants police to arrest him because he says he is too tired of staying at home with his wife. Yes, he's tired. As in, just come and arrest me. I'm willing to do anything you want me to do in that jail because I can't stay with this woman anymore.
He wants some adventure,
Aish.
some drama.
Wewe unaogopa kwenda jela, kuna watu wanaita jela.
That's from where?
That is from Italy. It says that this woman is too much for me. I can't handle. I'd rather be in jail. And he actually took himself to the prison, by the way.
Take me.
As in, you think at relationships when he had Kanairu, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Okay.
Anyway, so away from that, let's move to some political matters. And now Coast People family behind the ODM chief. That is what the governor of Mombasa, that is Joho, saying that they shall back the ODM leader Raila Odinga in next year's general elections, and shunning away whatever the DP has been doing or saying when it comes to that particular region of the country, that is the coastal area. And also we keep talking about how we obviously know that towards any general elections, people come together, new alliances and parties are formed, and now there's this specific one, new party to fight alliances ahead of 2022. So the name of this party is dubbed Eagles National Alliance. It's set to bring together 5 parties whose leaders signed an MOU in Nairobi yesterday, announcing that they will field a presidential candidate in the next year's post. That is what that particular party said yesterday, as of yesterday. And also, much as we know, yes, the former premier has been in different parts of the country, just perhaps popularizing his bid, saying what he will do, most especially to the youth if he is elected president come next year. And there's this one particular thing that he mentioned yesterday while he was in Kisumu, Ahero, just again talking to Kenyans there, as well as mostly the young people. So the ODM leader states that his government will raise 140 billion Kenyan shillings to set up a kitty for unemployed citizens. And again, it's a question that we kept asking here all the time on the show, is that what exactly is new about doing something for the young people, and most especially targeting the unemployed youths? I mean, this is something that has been said all the time with most of our leaders, and perhaps the question is, how different will any leader talking about youths and unemployment do it differently this time? So perhaps that's what we want to see when we delve deeper into the details and try to see how this article has highlighted that. We obviously have that story of IEBC in regards to the new voter registration. We know the exercise is supposed to end on 2nd November, and so far the IEBC is saying that they have just registered about 800,462 new voters, and this is against a projected target of 4.5 million. So they still have a long way to go, and that perhaps they are just banking on Kenyans, the last minute rush Kenyans to perhaps come and register as voters. We also obviously have that story on Anne Kananu, the court stopping Kananu's swearing in. We saw yesterday that perhaps if she actually ends up getting sworn in as Nairobi governor, she'll become the 6th to take up that particular office from the deputy to the governor, and also joining in the list of women who are governors in various counties. And again, also the story of DP, just political pundits terming it as political genius or reckless gambler. In essence, trying to show us how the opposition leader Raila Odinga has been using regional kingpins in every area he has been going, and on the other side, the DP has been going at it alone. So which way, using kingpins or going at it alone, is perhaps the best way to go with this popularizing of the next year's general elections bid. Great.
I want to also borrow from what you've said, in essence, of what has been highlighted in the other previous dailies that we have sampled for you here in the headlines. It's the same rhetoric, matters of politics, especially succession politics of 2022, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is concerned. Now, that move by the deputy president there, that avoiding to sign any pre-packed
pre-election.
Yes. Arrangement. For where I sit, and I know observers have said it's a gamble or a brilliant. But then let's look at it this way. If I wanted you to deliver on something, yes, you tell me, hey, you know what, Regina, I got this and this, I have this and this clout. And I want my end game is to clinch a certain position. So I tell you, fine, you can use my slogan, you can use my name in as far as association is concerned. But once we get to where we're going, that's when we're going to sit down and look at what did you bring to the table? What did Victor bring? What did Doreen bring? Then we can come up with an agreement. From where I sit, and this is totally my opinion, that was a huge gamble, but come August 10th or the night of August 9th, we will know if this particular gamble by Deputy President William Ruto pays off. Remember, there's been a quite conversation. Look at what is happening within NASA. Now NASA died, now we're talking about OCA. Remember what happened there. Early this year, we were having a conversation, and we had these particular members of former NASA, now OCA, coming out and saying that the leader of ODM, Raila Odinga, has betrayed them. He then went around and asked them, where were you? Where were you?
And
when I was facing...
Yes. And Regina, just to chip in, I think you said that it was a big gamble, yes. And, from the think tanks, politicians like Deputy President perhaps learned from the best. He learned from the experiences that actually rocked NASA, as you've put it. Because look at it, how many parties were folded to form the Jubilee Alliance before election of 2017? Some of them, some political pundits will say that we're just riding on the coats of other bigger parties in the name of forming an alliance. And then when it comes to the negotiation table, it becomes quite difficult for you to say, this is what I gave you. So I think at this point, the Deputy President made that bold move, as you put it, so that, okay, sawa, unataka to campaign. I want to see those people who are legit to the move. Performance. So that ikifika next year, tumewini kitu, then we can say, okay, Victor, this is what you brought. How many MPs do you have? How many MCAs? And how many governors do you have? Now, this is what I'm going to give you. Ask me, it was a delicate move, but yes, it's going to show who is strong enough and who is for the good cause of the Deputy President campaign.
And there's a statement that, Doreen, you've just put out there. Is it a question of him being a political kingpin or a reckless what?
Gambler.
Yes,
gambler.
A reckless gambler.
So it's I think there are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And from where I stand, I think this is such a power move that clearly shows you, by the way, the DP is a force to reckon with when it comes to the political landscape and narrative of this country. Because there are some members that have been mentioned here in the different parties. And let me just mention some of the parties. We have Chama cha Kazi. There's also the Service Party, Chama cha Mashinani. There's the People's Empowerment Party. Just to mention but a few that have their leaders wanting to associate with the Deputy President's Hustler Nation narrative, the bottom-up economy. But they have been allowed to do so, just no political pacts or power-sharing deals to be signed before the elections. That is definitely a power move. That is very bold. And sasa ni kila mtu ajipiganie. And they're also going to be using their own resources, not UDA's resources for that matter.
Can we summarize it? This is performance contracting.
Bas.
Yes.
Human resource management.
And I think the DP is just using the life forms model. I mean, it's about interest. So let me see what benefit you are. It's just a kawaida way even of living life sometimes. Like you can't be giving and someone is not even benefiting
and
in
by
any
the way,
way.
you'll see so many people dropping. So many parties will be running away because he said that you're going to use your own resources.
To campaign.
Okay, campaign for me, but just use the political parties, associate with the UDA. But I'm not going to fund man
or sign in or share any power.
Okay.
Nikishinda elections,
And also in
then
a
we'll
way,
meet at this table again.
and also in
we'll
a way,
discuss.
it's a test of loyalty.
Then there's
Exactly.
that.
It is a test of
Yes.
loyalty. Let me see, because if you can be able to use your resources and campaign and still use my name, Nandel, I mean,
Yeah.
Are
Let me
you
see.
loyal?
Hey, that's a great move there.
DJ Khaled's voice.
Let's shift from matters politics. Hapo tumesema performance contracting. If it works, I mean,
Yeah.
August 9th or August 10th, there we will know if it was a fail
May the best man win.
or a win. Safari Isha Noga. Tuko tu hapa. Teke. But what I would tell Wanjiko is please apply critical thinking. Now, onto human interest. I remember the lynching of self-confessed child killer, serial killer, that is none other than Masten Milimu Wanjala. Now, elders want the body of the serial killer buried at a riverbank to prevent bad omen. So the elderly man, says the Bukusu believed burying someone near a river would see the dead person's bad deeds and memories about him washed downstream. Wanjala's body cannot be buried in his father's home because he killed innocent souls. Such people are buried near rivers because family and clan want to forget everything about him. Remember, Wanjala's dad apologized to the victim's family, and now they have to do this ritual, this according to African tradition and culture, to exorcise his spirit there. Actually, a person is going to be person is going to be called upon to perform these rituals, and this person will go to the home and engage the deceased in a conversation. How that happens? A conversation. I heard dead men don't tell tales or dead men don't talk, but here they will hold a conversation with the
see what you
deceased
did there.
and splash concoctions meant to cleanse the home and family. After which, the person will be gifted a bull and will have to walk without looking back when leaving the compound. What do you talk about African tradition and
This goes
culture?
back to the conversation we had yesterday.
yeah.
And as you've rightfully put it, the father had apologized to the families on behalf of his son for the atrocities that he had committed. But after he was lynched, the father still and the whole family disowned him. They even refused to go for the post-mortem when they were called the following day at the referral hospital, at the morgue, to be present at the post-mortem. They refused to show up because traditionally, looking at what he had done when he was alive, this is a taboo, and burying him also in their homeland might bring curses onto them. And man,
Now hold up.
are you seeing the grip that culture still has on
Yes.
today's society?
on our society? Now talking about owning. So there is a man whose family will not bury him, actually can't bury him, won't bury him. A man rejected in death. This is a story of, what is his name? Clement Karemi. So his body has been lying at the Consolate Mathari Hospital in Nyeri County, and no one is willing to bury it. Why? According to Karemi's extended family, in Lusoi village, Kieni believes that he had his fair share of land, which he sold and squandered the proceeds. So the family is aggrieved by Karemi's move to sell the land and not to non-relatives. According to one of the siblings, he says, our father had advised him not to sell the land to people outside our clan. We consider him the government's child, and so it should bury him. Burying you here. So he exhausted his land. He was Karemi is termed as a lucky son who is in the 1970s had been allocated his acres at the Lusoi settlement, around 8 acres near his father's holding, but soon he got into bad ways. Despite sound advice from his father, Bit by bit, he sold off his land, squandering the proceeds with a woman who the family remembers was from Meru. Well, he exhausted his land in 2011. He exhausted his land in 2011 before being employed as a shamba boy in Nanyuki, where he worked until he had no physical strength. He then he started wasting away in a local shopping center, and one of his colleagues took him to hospital in 2019. He passed on. The hospital has been trying to get the family to actually bury him. They have said they won't, they can't, and they won't. Actually, to them, this man, Karemi, belongs to the government.
I think we need to take a break.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick breather. We will be back to continue with what we have lined up for you when it comes to In the Headlines. Stay with us. What the papers have for us, and before we get to move on to the different stories, let me just rope Doreen and Vic in regards to this particular story, looking at the African culture. What are your thoughts when it comes to burial versus what's it called, incarnation? No, not incarnation. Cremation. Yes. Hi, Lusungu, Kisungu. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because just looking at what Ray had mentioned before the break, looking at that individual whose family completely refused to take the body, even going to an extent of writing a letter to the hospital telling them the body belongs to the government. Now, do with it as you will. Burn it if you want, bury it if you want, but we do not want that body anymore. Your thoughts when it comes to these two forms of send-off? Let me start with you, Doreen.
I think from the African context, burial is it's how we've been formed, it's the way to go as opposed to cremation. But again, there's this notion that land is no more there to accommodate all this person. So this is why a good number of people are opting for that. But just for the African context, and even for me, I think for me as a person, I think burial is just the way to go. Maybe that's what I can just say. It's just the way to go. In a way, it's our African nature, it's our African culture, that it's also a way of just having those last moments, those 3 days or 2 days with that person. You can still go back to that grave. Because again, you see, we heal off pain in a different way. And sometimes just being in that area, where this person is buried, in a way for some people, it eases off the pain, as opposed to when it's all ashes and thrown away somewhere in the sea. So,
Vic.
It's called closure.
Yeah.
Yeah, closure.
That was the word, closure.
Exactly. In some, actually, in an African setup, burial was more preferred to cremation. Perhaps you can only say that even people who pass on foreign lands, when you come from an African country, most of them still prefer that their kin be buried. I think there is a reason for that. One, perhaps, let me just give an example. A person passes on probably in country X, and the family cannot travel because of financial constraints and what have you. So when a person is buried, then there is that clear direction and a spot that you can say that maybe later on, after 4 or 5 months, or even 1 year, when everything is now settled, a family can go there and have that closure. Two, it was a way of saying that we do not want to throw you away. When you're with us, when you're still alive, you are part of the society, and when you are dead, now we can just dispose of you as at whim. So we are still a team, we are still a family. Even in death, you are still part of us. Even coming generations will still go back and say, this was generation X, Y, and Z. So and so was laid to rest here. All right, he was such a kind of a person, and what have you. And just to tie to what happened yesterday, some of them were meant to appease spirits. Have you ever seen a situation where, in some circumstances where it happens that when somebody is dead, and it said that that person was not happy at time of death, or he's not happy, kuna mtu
Kwenye magari zinakataa kusonga.
Exactly. Certain things do happen.
Yeah.
So unasikia mtu anasema ati that person alikufa na uchungu.
Yeah.
But how do you appease the spirit? Maybe ataki kuzikwa Nairobi. I just want to go back home because I have my piece of land. Na niliuawa because of that piece of land. I want to go back home there. So ask me about the African setup. I think it's widely practiced and it will continue to be practiced all over and over again. Perhaps it used to happen in certain countries where, they did not, there was no pieces of land where the population was so high that even the cemeteries were full and what have you. So they would just prefer going the cemetery. And talk of cemetery, there is a story here. Allow me, ladies. NMS has announced, and it's a full page, of 164 unclaimed bodies at the city mortuary. 164 bodies. That's on, according to the NMS. It's a full page of 164 unclaimed bodies at the city mortuary, and they're saying disposal of unclaimed bodies. So it says that 164 unclaimed bodies at the city mortuary from the date of admission awaiting collection pursuant to Public Health Act Cap 242 subsidiary Public Health Public Mortuaries Rules 1991 to interested members. I'm reading this because it's of national interest. Members of public are asked to identify and collect the below named bodies within 7 days, failure to which the Nairobi Metropolitan Services will seek authority for disposal. Out of the 164, I've done my tabulation, only 8 are female. 156 are male. And most of them happened within Nairobi area. From Embakasi, some of them outside the metropolitan, Kiambu, Tigoni, Kasarani, and what have you. So it's because of national interest, and this is a national television, that if at all you have any unclaimed body, it's just good you go to the city mortuary and talk to the authority there and take your kin and give them a decent send-off. It's because of different causes of death are stated here. Some of them are unknown, some of them accident, some of them are mob justice, some of them are murder, sudden, fire, natural, and many of them. Some of them are asthmatic, shooting. So go there. Go there, take your loved ones. I even see some of them are unknown fetus. Some of them, some of the fetus which are being picked from the riverbanks, from the toilet. Please, as a national broadcaster, just go to the city mortuary and collect your bodies and give them a decent send-off. I think, yeah. But the number here is 156 plus or minus male number. Only 8 have counted to be female.
I don't know. I think I just want to be sort of a bit specific on that, the difference in those gender numbers. I mean, only 8 are female and the rest are male.
I've gone through the list one by one and I've counted only 8.
When they say women have a higher sense of life preservation than men, arguably so, you can see even from those statistics. And looking at even the stats that were put out by, I think it was, I don't remember which organization put this out, but actually looking at the number of babies that were born in the past year alone, actually the boys were more than the girls.
Yeah.
More boys were born in the year 2020 as opposed to the girls. But when it comes to the innate need to preserve life, women have a higher innate need to preserve life as opposed to a male counterpart. Inakuanga ka mbaya kanivita tunaenda aluta.
Exactly. And from the record, all of them, causes of death, unknown. That's according to the records here. Unknown. The rest unknown, murder, accident, drowning, sudden natural incident, mob justice. Some of them are shooting.
And I think this is the third time I've had the NMS put such an announcement on the dailies, because I've done 2 before, and that was a few months ago. So this just goes to show you the number of bodies that are lying at our mortuaries. Number one, it increased due to the pandemic. That was one factor that exacerbated the situation, among many other reasons. But this is the third time I've seen, just this year alone. I don't know how many other times they were in the dailies that we were not able to catch, but this is the third time that I have personally seen this particular.
Some of them are as dates back to March. The first one I can see, one is here, date in 3rd of March 2021.
Can you imagine?
That was early this year, and I'm just trying to think with it myself. I mean, we've had stories of people looking for their kids or even their children, and some would even say, I don't even care whether they are dead or alive. Let me just get that child of mine or that father or mother or whoever it is.
Actually,
so I'm really trying to think. I don't know, for it to get to 164, I don't know how, maybe a family can be comfortable where they are, not knowing where this brother is for this while, or this sister is, or this daughter is. I mean, for the city officials to keep announcing this all the time, like the way you're saying, Wambui, you've read it twice. We are getting to read it again on the paper again today. So that sums up like 3 or 4 times in just a year. They keep announcing it because hata wamechoka na kukana hizo mwili huko penye wameketi nazo. So I'm just thinking, how people would be really comfortable.
And I've actually come across the same story here. This whole page, still the same on this particular daily. I hadn't seen it, but it has also been featured concerning the disposal of unclaimed bodies. So if you have a family member that has been missing for some time, and you haven't been able to trace them at the police stations or at the hospitals or at a friend's or relative's place, maybe you might want to check in with the mortuary to just be sure that they are not among these bodies that are set to be disposed of in the next 7 days. And the sad thing about such is when it comes to this disposal, they'll be put in a mass grave. And remember, there was an incident where there's a family that now wanted their kin to be exhumed from a mass grave. It's chaotic. All right, Doreen.
Okay, so let me just come to some bit of politics. Looks like really the PD today has covered a lot of political matters, and perhaps we can begin from what the former premier was saying yesterday while he was in Kisumu, and this is in regards to that stipend pledge for the young adults, or if you may, the youth there. So the ODM leader Raila Odinga yesterday expressed confidence that his government will raise 140 billion Kenyan shillings, and this is just for the purpose of setting up a kitty for youths without gainful employment. Father Zon says that the former prime minister said the money will be used to give 6,000 Kenyan shillings monthly stipend to unemployed youth. He said the cash can be raised by sealing loopholes that allow for wastage and corruption in government. Speaking in Kisumu, where he made stopovers to rally his supporters to register as voters, the ODM chief said some developed countries escaped extreme poverty because of similar social safety programs. And this include cash transfers, social pension schemes, public works, and school feeding programs targeting the poor and vulnerable households. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. Obviously, like every political leader right now, like we kept saying rather, I think since last week, is that they will appeal to the need of the people they will meet. When they go to Kajero, they'll say we will deal with land issues. When they go to perhaps areas like Kakamega, they'll say we'll deal with food issues. When they come to an area where there's the youth, they will say we will look for ways in which people can get employment. I mean, 140 billion Kenyan shillings kitty, whereby every unemployed youth is supposed to get 6,000 monthly. The practicality of it.
Promises. You guys, do you know how, maneno ni matamu. Maneno ni matamu. But let me tell you. But let me tell you from personal experience, actions over words, any day, any time. Hold people accountable to their actions over their words, and especially now looking at this political conversation, because even the DP was in Ukambani telling them, you guys, why do you want to ride on, kupewa pesa every 6 months, and yet we can come together, we put upside 100 billion and create a stable economy. He was also speaking to the sex workers, telling them, come together, put a chama, organize yourself, I'll give you $1 million bob muanzishe biashara legit to help you, set up a legit business. And it sounds so good. But
it's like, I usually equate politics and campaigns to job interview. Jen, tell us what you'll give us if we hire you today.
100 million, kila mwezi nitawapatia 6,000.
Yes.
Wale wengine wenye hawana job, tutawapatia 1,000,000, mkuje mtengeneze kachama, ni mwanzishe biashara legit.
Yes. So you go back, you do your background check about KBC, the GMK show, what they do, the gaps and the loose ends that you would want to fix once you're picked to do the show.
Yeah.
So that's what you tell the panel. Victor, Regina, Doreen, if you hire me, this is what I will do. I will make sure that I come at 2 a.m. to start the show.
What is your salary expectation? Your vote.
Don't worry. I will do this.
I will just your vote.
Then your bosses will say, I think this is a good candidate. This is a good candidate. Jen, don't call us, we'll call you. Then you wait for the election. That's what wananchi now do.
Yeah.
You come, sell your policies, and then wananchi will tell you, okay, fine, umetuongelesha, fine. Don't call us, Mr. Victor. We will call you come election day.
On the 10th of August.
That's
10th or 9th?
9th.
9th, yes.
That is how politics is. It's like going for a job interview. You come, sell your manifesto, your ideas, your all those things, talk to them, and then wananchi wanakuambia, okay, fine, we'll call you. See, you met after job. Fine, we'll call you on 9th of August. So, if you talk about youths are being targeted, remember, they have got researchers, they have got professors, technocrats, who each and every region, they know what are some of the soft spots. When you go to, location X, this is what they suffer from. Go to location Z, this is what they suffer from. And you talk to their hearts. You talk to their hearts. I will give you water. This place is dry. You don't have running waters in every home. I will make sure that this particular area is tapped. So when you talk to the hearts of the people, what they suffer from, you appeal to them. But as you said, Jen, implementation.
Are you walking your talk?
Yeah,
or are you just talking your walk?
Yeah, implementation. Well, some of them get implemented, by the way. Not all of them.
Yeah, and I think that's the point where we keep saying, just vote with wisdom.
Yeah.
Be smart enough. And also for most young people, don't say that, yeah, my vote won't count. Sister Vishachagua. No, just do it with wisdom.
All right. Talk of politics. Multi-agency team preparing roadmap for 2022 election. Judiciary will dispense with ongoing election-related cases in 90 days. That is the team chaired by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Brings together ministries of Interior, ICT, National Treasury, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the Office of the Attorney General, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Koome, that is the Chief Justice, announced that a technical committee had been formed to work on issues raised at the meeting. Some of the, the issues to be addressed in the report will include security and nomination and election disputes. Koome also assured that the judiciary will dispense with ongoing election-related cases within 90 days as part of 2022 preparations. She also announced that the judiciary is set to train at least 120 judges to handle any surge in the number of election disputes lodged in court during the 2022 general election. Some of the 480 magistrates and 400 judicial officers are also part of the plan, affiliated by the Ministry of the affiliated to the Judiciary Committee on Elections, JCE, and the Kenya Judiciary Academy. So that is as far as that is concerned, and preparation, and the CJ said that they are going to make sure that by end of December all the election related cases will be dispensed with, so that when we go to the next election we have a clean slate to start come next year, so that should we have any electoral election related cases, should be a fresh one. All right, so before we wrap this, President to appoint judges within 14 days in proposed amendments. JSC nominees shall be deemed to have been appointed if head of state fails to act. That is on that. A Senate committee has proposed to Parliament to amend the JSC Act to make it mandatory for the President to appoint the judges within 14 days. So the committee inquired into the initial delayed appointment of 41 new judges and rejection of the 6 judges by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So that is as far as that is concerned. At this particular point, is it okay that we take a look at what's happening?